Thank you, Jan. Good afternoon to everyone. My name is Germán Esteban, Program Officer in Industrial Technologies. I'm going to present you the topic FoF-1 2018 about skills needed for new manufacturing jobs. So, we all know the challenges that the industrial sectors we are facing these days. But it's not only about the new technologies and how you embed these new technologies or you change the way you manufacture, but it is also about the people. Because there is a huge amount of existing workforce that may see in danger in the coming years their post. Because of this adaptation of the new technologies, many of these people may have some difficulties into adapting to this new scenario. This morning, indeed, we already listened in the panel discussions about the importance of these skills for the future of manufacturing in Europe. So these are the specific objectives for this topic. So we want you to focus, and this is an extensive wish list, but if you feel like adding some more elements in your proposal, they will be more than welcome. So we need breakthrough education and training paradigms for continuous training of the existing workforce. We want you to develop new skills and competences, but all of this has to be done in a quick and efficient way because at the end of the day, and as we heard also this morning in the panel discussion, the workers have to be at the forefront of innovation because innovation normally comes from the individuals. So the more you get involved your workers in your manufacturing process, the most likely you will get good and nice ideas to be applied in this scenario. So that way you will ensure the transition to the use of sophisticated machines and new technologies. So that's why we want you to focus really much into strengthen the human capital, the employability, and the competitiveness, and specifically we're talking about advanced manufacturing and some of the areas that it covers. So, and also, last but not least, with this coordinated support action, we're also aligning with the blueprint for sectoral cooperation, which is right now a very high and relevant policy topic about skills. So it will have to complement the blueprint for sectoral cooperation, additive manufacturing, that will be published later on in October. So the scope, in this scope, you have a lot of, as I said, a long wish list that you need. We thought it was needed to really develop a nice coordinated support action and to be able to achieve results. So you need to identify shortages and mismatches in the technical, but also the non-technical skills, and many of those soft skills that are becoming more and more important, like, for example, flexibility, like, for example, creativity, but also the digital capabilities. We also want you to map the existing initiatives that are ongoing in Europe, because we believe the EU added value of this coordinated support action will be to provide a European framework for all of them. We want you to include lifelong learning and granting of qualification for personnel in industrial settings, and this has to be, of course, real case scenarios, but not only in a specific scenario, but you also think that they can be applied immediately to other areas as well. Also, it has to be very hands-on, because we want it to be very practical, including social humanities aspects, trying to attract more women to the industrial scenario, and having training activities and knowledge management, also including the senior employees. Because many times people retire and they are not able to really transmit all this knowledge they gathered during all these years to the new generations. Of course, all of them will have to be this modular and e-learning. Education will be free of charge. And then also the aim is that to foster a debate, not only inside the industry and its workers, but also to include other actors that are not normally included in these discussions, like, for example, trade unions, educational centers, national employment agencies. Oops, sorry. So the expected impact for this coordinated support action, as you know, is 100% of funding. And it's first, you have a budget of 1 to 2 million, which we believe it's enough to cope with this action. So we really want to have an impact of real and measurable steps towards the reduction of identified skill gaps, leading to the upskilling of the existing workforce in Europe. So that way we will increase the innovation performance. And we have a very specific target, about 15 new description of jobs for each one of the areas you have selected. You cannot just focus on advanced manufacturing in general. You will have to select specific areas from the full landscape of advanced manufacturing and then develop for each one of these areas at least 15 new job profiles. And of course, and this is one of the most important aspects as well, is the close and continuous engagement between all these different stakeholders that many times they do not have such a fluent dialogue. We like industry, trade union, academia, and educational center. And all of this in order to stimulate networks in the European research area as a whole. Thank you very much. So, hello again. That's again me. And with this topic, I want to challenge you. I mean, I've been listening to you now for years, and I do believe you. But additive manufacturing is so, wow, changing the world. You can 3D print whatever, the holy grail or whatever of manufacturing, the new industrial revolution. Okay, so now do it. I mean, now you gather the opportunity, so you put additive manufacturing into the industry. So there you have it. This is your chance. All these years in Horizon 2020, we've been developing technologies, different technological readiness levels. We've been investing in polymers, metals, ceramic, etc. So now, yes, we're very strong in metal additive manufacturing in Europe. So yeah, this is almost ready for industrialization. So yes, so come on, show us that you can do it. So that's basically what the topic is about industrialization of additive manufacturing, and in concrete about metal additive manufacturing, because we believe is the sector where it can really be more reachable. So the specific objective of the call is about a complete deployment and adoption of additive manufacturing in the metalworking industries. And also, so for this, you will have to do this industrial demonstration in a pilot line where you will demonstrate the full potential of AM in real manufacturing conditions. And this has to be a flagship that will also show that all the work, all the funds we have given you in Horizon 2020 mean something, that really what you promised, you will deliver it. So you will have, of course, to insist on very important aspects that are real bottlenecks for the full take-up of industry for additive manufacturing, which are the robustness, stability, repeatability, speed, and right first-time manufacturing. So again, here you have the list of things that we think are really relevant for you to achieve this ambitious objective. If you realize, before I put bold letters to highlight the most important messages, but here I left everything in plain text to highlight that all of this is important. And you need, of course, to think, for example, first about simulation, because try to find a way that the final results of additive manufacturing is what you had already simulated. So with this prediction and minimization of distortion, an effect on durability and expected lifetime for post-processing, avoiding propagation of defects to downstream stages. So in summary, do it right from the very first time. Try to simulate what will be the behavior or what you will be producing in the machine, and this will avoid also costly post-processing steps for your additive manufacturing. So you will have also to deal with inline non-destructive testing and in situ analysis of products. And then that's a very important point as well about the integration and interoperability of additive manufacturing. Because so far additive manufacturing has been considered a bit in isolation. But what about, we all know that probably the future is with hybrid systems where additive manufacturing is included there in the middle. So then how to communicate with the other machines in the plant? How to communicate with a PLC, a SCADA system? So you need to really think how to really integrate additive manufacturing into the full production system. So for this, you need to have this concept as well of hybridization, that in the past we already launched some calls about hybrid manufacturing. And then another of these real barriers and bottlenecks is the qualification and certification. So for this, you will have to deal with them as well together with some standardization activities. And you will need to liaise with existing bodies at ISO, ASTM, Sensenelec, technical committees, working groups, in order to really do something that is workable and that it will be useful. And then finally, because I believe this is one aspect that is not really that well taken into account these days, is about the occupational exposure, about safety and health of the workers that deal with all these lasers, but not only laser, but also the powders from additive manufacturing, very thin powders that can be potentially damaging the health. So, if you notice as well in the title, I left in purpose the 50% because it's a very clear message. It's 50% because the ones that you will be applying to this topic, we want you to be fully committed. And we think that's the way where you will show that putting money from your side, that amount of 50% will also mean that you have a huge interest in making this work, and it will ensure the success of the proposal. So we expect the proposals to be in a range between 12 and 15 million euros. And also we want you to reach robustness of the processes by increased by 40%, and also the production speeds by 25%, with a reduction of time to market by 25% and right first time capability by 14%. Also about reduction of uncertainties of selected material quality parameters by 50%, resulting in improving product quality by 40%. And as I mentioned already, new certification schemes for industrial 3D printed parts, and also about how you get involved into standardization activities related to additive manufacturing. So, as I said, this is probably your last chance in Horizon 2020 to make it work. So please do it and show it's possible. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you for the presentations. I will ask my colleague Arnaud to bring on screen the questions which you have proposed through Slido. Can we get them on screen? Yes, okay. While my colleague is trying to bring it on screen, I will already go through the questions using my mobile device. We have a question for FoF-1. What does it mean, 15 new job profiles per area? Is it per area or per industrial sector? Or is it per area of manufacturing? If so, how many areas should be targeted by the proposal? German?
Okay, thank you for the question. Well, 15 new job profiles. For example, you're an operator with an old machine, and now you have a full set of new machines, so this would be the new job profile, operator of the highly sophisticated new machines dealing with ABC. Another one could be another kind of, imagine, also engineering positions may suffer changes in the future, so I don't know, maybe you are not anymore project engineer, but you have to be smart manufacturing engineer, and there will be new tasks that have to be allocated for this new job profile. So this is a bit the philosophy. So you have to imagine which is the kind of profile that will be needed in the future, and to develop kind of a job description for that. It is per area, not per industrial sector, because the coordinated support action is about advanced manufacturing. I can put, for example, you may choose additive manufacturing, which is one advanced manufacturing technology. Maybe you decide to do that, for example, in robotics, or you may do that to select another area that relates maybe more to the molding industry, things like that. So, and I don't remember if it was finally into the text, but at least you needed to do 3 areas, for example. But the more areas you do, the better. So it's also up to you to decide which is the more realistic ambition of the proposal. But it's not per industrial sector, it's per a specific advanced manufacturing area that you select in the proposal.
Okay, the second question is also for you, Germán. Is the mapping of the existing national initiatives done at the proposal or project level? Can you put this question on the screen?
Which one, the pilot lines?
No, no, it's... you have to...
Show me with the...
Here, Germán.
Well, about the question is the mapping of the existing national initiatives done at proposal or project level? Well, to be honest, I don't really think I understand the question about the proposal or project level. But I mean, the idea is that you identify in the proposal that you will submit, and of course this will then turn into a project with a grant agreement, that you map all these national initiatives and take them as examples to develop an EU initiative, let's say, or try to also do the links between all these national initiatives. But the first step, of course, is to map what is already there, and then to decide if it's worth that at the European level you link all these national initiatives, or which are the right steps to be taken for an EU approach.
Okay, we are still learning how this software is working, so my apologies for the confusion. I'll just read the questions from the screen so you can follow. So we have one question, but the topic is not mentioned. When you refer to standardization, is this implied collaboration in the consortium with Sensenelec or ETSI? The person who asked this question, can you refer to which topic this was? Okay, yes.
Sorry, I asked a question. I think Germán referenced Sensenelec and ETSI, Additive Manufacturing. The question is more, there's quite a lot of reference to standardization in different calls. Is this implying the European standards organizations or standards in general? Is this a relationship that should be built with the standards organizations or standards in general?
Yes.
Well, in the concrete case of additive manufacturing, the importance is to highlight that there is the ISO ASTM group working on additive manufacturing. Then it was the technical committee, if I remember correctly, 438 in the Sensenelec that was created, and they're trying to align with ISO ASTM. So the message is that get in touch with them. It's not, I'm not suggesting that the Sensenelec must be included as partner or not, or it's just simply a collaboration, a workshop. So, because of course we have to be realistic, we cannot develop standards in the lifetime of a project. But there are other ways, like best practices. I know you have specific paths that is like anticipating work to be done later on. So it's just to have this cooperation, no need of having them on board as partners.
Okay, the next question is also for you, Germán. How many pilot lines are expected from the Commission to demonstrate a full coverage of the European advanced manufacturing, additive manufacturing landscape?
Okay. Well, one pilot line per project, of course, but, and this is in the range of the 12, 15. Our intention is to have 2. But, okay, at the end, you know, we have a common pot for the money. And if there is a very good proposal, imagine that is asking for 16 million of euros, and the next very good one is also asking for 16, that we may put us into trouble. But the original intention is to have 2.
And then your topic is very popular. Can the pilot line be based on a project that's currently running?
Okay, once again, we all know about the importance of continuing the investment we have done. There are many Horizon 2020 projects that have been based in FP7 projects, and this part of the part of also European impact. You show you're using a result from the past. You're continuing to develop the technology or the sector. So of course you can use previous results from previous projects. And I know also that there are somehow, like in many projects, they're reusing things that were developed in past projects. So of course, you're the experts, I'm not. And so if you think that's the best way to approach what we want, go for it. At the end of the day, we will have a set of independent experts that will do the evaluation. And as I always say, think yourselves as if you were evaluators by reading your proposal and the topic, and think how you will objectively score this proposal. But yeah, it's of course you can use, and it's more than welcome to use past results from projects.
Okay, the next 2 questions are for FoF-2. So new robots technologies for human-robot collaboration have to address high payloads applications only. The answer is no. The text says as an example given, so it was just an example to give you an indication what we expect, but it can be anything else as well. The next question. The most of the robots developed to collaborate with humans in industrial environments have now substituted human workers. Are you going to consider this aspect in the evaluation? I think this is a very bold statement, and it's part of a very active, ongoing discussion now. But yes, we take this aspect into account in the evaluation. If you look at the impact section, first of all, we ask you to clearly demonstrate the potential to bring production back to Europe with the goal to create jobs, bring back jobs to Europe. And also it's about increasing the job quality. So if your technology is going to substitute humans, you're not really increasing the job quality of the humans. Also, as my statement in the beginning of the presentations of the topics, I said you have to look also to the higher levels of the call. And Factories of the Future is all about jobs, growth, and competitiveness. So yes, these aspects will also be taken into account during the evaluation. The next question is for Arjan Swegers on digital manufacturing. How to be seen these platforms operating? A third party running them on behalf of organizations, or actual manufacturing companies taking ownership?
Okay, well, thank you for the question. Well, first of all, the call doesn't say anything about it. So it's up to the consortium to decide what is the best business model and what is the best way to operate them. Also, as was mentioned by Jan in the beginning, part of the proposal should be a business plan. So therefore, also consortia should think about these kind of questions. Now, I'm not the expert. You are the experts, as some of my colleagues said. But it also looks to me that sometimes it might not be suitable that it is run by a third party in the cloud. For instance, if there are real-time effects involved, it needs to be close to the manufacturing floor. So then it would typically be manufacturing companies taking ownership. But if it is more about supply chain relationships, it can indeed be a third party. But again, it's up to the consortium to decide about such issues.
The next question is again for FoF-2. Do you also consider in scope the proposals involving remote access applications using robotic hands to deal with industrial robots used in machining tasks? Yes, they can be in scope as long as they address also the 3 research requirements of the scope of the topic. So yes, the answer is yes. It can be in scope. Next question, FoF-4, what is the exact definition of a pilot line? My colleague John Kleuren is going to answer this.
Ah, what a nice question. $65,000 or whatever. There is no exact definition of a pilot line, and I think this is also a bit of a rhetorical question. It's more, I assume, to provoke a little bit that we elaborate on what we think a pilot line should look like. Of course, we have a lot of sort of buzzwords around these things. We have test beds, we have demonstrators, we have hubs, we have platforms, and we have pilot lines as well. The word pilot line, an important element of pilot line is that it's not a single machine. It's not a single application. It's not a single solution. It's rather to demonstrate a set of technologies developed in earlier projects. In this particular case, in FoF-4, but we will have 2 more pilot lines, one in 2019 and then one in 2020. Pilot lines, the idea is to take stock of developments, for instance, in terms of equipment directly, and combine them into a more elaborate production line. That's one thing. And then the other thing is, how far do you go? How close to market do you go? Is it already something that is immediately going into production at the end of the lifetime of the project? And there, of course, we have to be very careful. We are here on the edge of what is possible and justifiable with public money. We're not going to develop any commercial solutions. All the activities that we finance are pre-commercial. But the fact that these topics are financed at 50%, and by the way, there was another question that went to the bottom. What does this 50% mean? 50% means 50% for the profit-making participants in the consortium. So for the RTOs and universities, the financing will remain at 100%. So it's still, as a whole, financed at more than 50%. But still, the signal is there. We want to get as close as possible to let's say, the pre-commercial research. I hope that roughly gives a bit of a framework of the pilot lines.
Okay, so just to complement what John mentioned, you also may think in terms of technological readiness levels. So it's up to 7. So at the end of the project, it should be 7 or if 7, something, not 8, of course, because we cannot fund 8. But it should be, and if you think about how additive manufacturing machines work, it's the machine or the final pilot line with additive manufacturing will be looking very much what will be a real industrial production facility. So the idea is that you are also smart, and then with very little investment, you're really able to put it into real production.
Okay, because we are running out of time, we will not be able to answer all the questions. We will going by level of popularity. So if you look at the questions, you can vote for whether you can put a like like on Facebook, and it will pop up the questions higher. So the next question, while the motivation towards humanless factory is live, will you consider the proposals involving virtual reality tools for improved robot-human as in scope? This is a similar question as the previous one. Yes, virtual reality tools can be considered as part of a smart mechatronic system, and they can be considered in scope, of course, if 2 of the 3 requirements of the research areas are addressed by the proposal. The next one is in topic NMBP 20 lump sum. There's a slide saying innovation action 70%. Is this a mistake?
No, it's not a mistake. And it's actually good that the question is asked. The principle of when you make a proposal, you have to imagine you're making a proposal as if it's an innovation action financed at 70%. So this is exactly what you do. The costs will be 100% for non-for-profit organization and 70% will be the funding for for-profit organizations. Then you add up all the costs, and the funding that is marked, is foreseen, is 7.5 million. So if you then make the calculation roughly, of course it depends on the ratio for-profit and non-for-profit organizations, but we assume we end up with proposals which have a value of something in the range of 10 million euros. Because we expect there will be a large share of industrial participation in such projects, in the plug and produce topic, we think we have more partners which ask for 70% than partners that will ask for 100% financing. It's simply afterwards, when the project is running, that the payments will not be based on the costs, but simply be based on the efforts and the results.
Next one, maybe Herman, you can address the 3 questions at once to speed up a bit.
Okay. I thought that putting 50% will make a lot of people to run away from the topic, but apparently it's not. So, well, okay, the first one, there was another one, no? About before. Well, okay, the call is focused only on metals, that is, that also include other materials with metallic-like behavior, such as, for example, organic semiconductors. Well, I'm afraid it's about metal additive manufacturing and metalworking industries. So can the pilot line include commercially available AM machines? Well, okay, we've seen many projects that they take a commercial machine and then they fine-tune it, or they take the machine from a previous project and then fine-tune it again. But there I would like to stress that you have 3 criteria. Is the excellence, the impact, and the implementation. Maybe depending on the state of the art, and if you just buy a machine and you use it for the project, well, okay, maybe the criteria of excellence will not be scoring very high. So this is, as I said before, if you are an expert on the field, how you would see your own proposal, which is the novelty that you're bringing into the proposal. So the excellence criteria may be affected about that, but again, this is up to the consortium to decide how to find the best solution. Then could you give an example of a consortium that gets 50% of funding with mixture of universities, RTOs, SMEs, LEs? Well, the 50% is for the private entities, where you were getting 70%, now you will get 50%. The rest of partners is as business as usual. But again, this is a very industrial topic, so we should expect quite a lot of industrial players there. So if there is a majority of academia and RTOs, well, okay, but this is not up to me to decide which is the right composition of the consortium. Just to warn that where you had 70%, the entities that had 70% will get 50%.
The next question is for Erastos.
Well, the digital twins of maybe thousands of equipment. This I don't quite understand what is meant by this question, but it could be that there is so much equipment on this platform that each digital twin of each is on there as well. I cannot give you an example because I have not seen something like that. But what I could explain to you is that what this platform should be able to do is to enable clients, potential customers, to experiment online with the equipment that is on the platform and to see its functionality shown through the digital twin.
Yeah, you can also take the next two questions, Erastus.
Okay. Should the marketplace be focused on a technology or an industrial area? This is up to you, really. It's not a matter of the issue of putting a frame around this is because it's impossible to cover a whole sector, all the equipment of one sector, and it's impossible to cover all the equipment that exists for one technology. So it should be a reasonable set of equipment that is populating this platform in order to make sense and in order to be able to demonstrate with the platform that there is a growing competitor on the market by using it. And the other question, will the grant agreement be different from standard? That I leave for John to answer.
In principle, let's say the basic rules, the standard grant agreement, which is the same for each and every grant on the horizon, is not different. It's only that in the descriptive part, which is also known as the part A and part B of the grant agreement, there will be some extra information about the costs and the distribution of the different lump sums, but it will be as minimal as possible.
Okay, we will have to close down the question and answer session over here. For those questions which did not get an answer, you can download the slides on Slido and you can see which project officer is responsible for which topic. And I suggest that during the coffee break, you just approach the project officer with your question. We'll now have a coffee break of 20 minutes, not 30 minutes, as in the agenda I said. So we'll start again at 10 to 4 here in the room. And then we'll give the floor to you. So we want to hear what kind of ideas you have in the brokered sessions at 10 to 4.